Well, we finally got it to work. Welcome back to Oasis Hill Zoo, everyone. Hope you guys are all having the most wonderful of wonderful days. My name is Leaf, and it's so great to have you guys back here once again. And look at that, it's a brand new day. So, already right off the bat, I have my comments all loaded up on my other monitor right here. And I need to thank Etoul, Itoul, for actually letting us know that the new glass pieces that we got with the conservation theme don't actually work. They're not actually see-through. So let me just push my mic away a little bit further. I feel like I'm kind of screaming into the mic right now. But no, we got that all fixed up, and now our guests can actually see in here. The guests are donating because they see some lovely little hyenas. Check these guys out. Oh my god. So adorable. But yeah, we finally got all that to work out, and we can finally start to see a lot more traffic coming on over to this area. I'm very happy to see that. And I have a lot of other things in here too. Speaking of that, it looks like people are starting to get stuck right here. So I think I'm actually going to push this back a little bit. I think that should at least fix this area just a little bit more. I've seen some comments. I'm going to start looking through this right now for the vending machines. Yes, for the vending machines to be removed so we can actually make a real food plaza soon. I'm not going to do that in this episode, I don't think. Maybe if we're lucky I will. But for today, we're going to go over to our kangaroo friends and we're going to start to make a little walkthrough enclosure for them. Now, normally, kangaroo walkthrough enclosures are pretty common in zoos. Usually you can kind of mix these guys with the emus. Sometimes in America, we don't really do that all that often. I know I have like a bunch of Australian friends that I talk to regularly, and apparently the kangaroo walkthroughs over there, they actually do have the emus over there, which is very interesting. I just find that very weird, because we oftentimes see emus as kind of like murder birds, kind of on the same level as a cassowary, if that makes sense. But no, that's just very interesting. Unfortunately, we do not have any emus in the game, or at least we can't get them in this game mode. I know that so many of you guys are being like, oh, you should add like the olive baboon, you should add like the emu mod, and it's like, guys, we can't do that stuff as much as I would love to. No, we can't add that stuff into franchise. But I think right over here, I believe we're gonna do a little bit of a staff area, and we're going to do a little bit of a building as well. So let me just get this all settled. I think I'm going to actually make this black asphalt right in here. And we're just going to continue that on a little bit. It's kind of shocking to see that this is all costing money, because I haven't really been doing this stuff all too often. Alright, we can kind of continue that on throughout here. And I think that should be the angle. Let me just double check. Yep, that's the angle of it. I want to have that be like a nice wall back there. So we're just going to continue this up a little bit more. Maybe we won't even do a speed build today. I feel like that would be a kind of fun change of pace right here. Just not even doing a speed build. I feel like that would be super fun to do. But we're going to continue this with a little bit of staff path so that the guests don't actually go on throughout there. Because, I don't know, I just don't want them to. And we can continue this on throughout here too. I think this should be the angle. I just want to make sure I'm getting all these angles correctly. And I am, so that is working perfectly. And then we should have that. And that should be our little staff maintenance path. I know it's not really the prettiest thing in the world, but we'll work on that in just a little bit. Just going to move those plants out of the way right there. And I think I do want another exit for the kangaroo walkabout right here. And I think that should be good. And then later down the line, we can actually flesh this area out a little bit more. I'm holding control so that it doesn't snap to that pathway right there. Not even a free build thing. It's just a normal kind of game thing over here. So I'm going to do that over there instead because I want that to be nice and flush with the exit right there. And there we go. That should be good right there. And it gives you the option to kind of go into your kangaroo walkabout right here. I'm going to dress this up a little bit more. I don't really like the stock Planet Zoo gates. And it also gives you the option to kind of look into this habitat right here. in case if you don't really want to walk through the habitat, which is totally fine. I know, like, people like, you know, a bunch of people that I know don't really like to walk through aviaries and stuff like that. They don't really like birds all too much, which is totally fine. I completely get that. Birds are horrifying little creatures, but I still love them nonetheless. But some people just don't really like to go through these, so I always like to make sure that we have one pathway in there, and we also have one on the outside as well. And now over here, I want to make sure that we can actually lower this a little bit. And by the way, we're making some good money. Again, I'm not sure if you guys can actually see the money. With the new way that I render, I haven't actually checked that out yet. But it's super. Oh man, we're in the money. We have 25,000 in the bag right now. That is super awesome. And I think I'm gonna kind of cover that up a little bit. I kind of like the idea that there's an illusionary wall right there. Not really an illusionary wall, but like a hill that you can't really see over. And now with a little trick with free build, I'm gonna hold Y a little bit. And that essentially lets us terraform around paths. So I'm just gonna hold Y just a smidge so we can actually edit the terrain under the paths. In case if you guys are unaware, free build is a wonderful little mod. It does not break your game. So in case if you uninstall it and then load into your park file, it doesn't break your game at all, which is super awesome. I know that's a lot of reservations that people have about modding, but it's just a super awesome little trick right there that you guys can use. Now we're going to continue this fence a little bit through here. And I think for the time being, I will change that to, not concrete, oops. But I'll tell you what, we can kind of continue this fence on throughout here. And I do want to align it to like this angle right here, and I think that should be good. And then we can just duplicate that again right over here. And can we actually do that on the other side? No, I forgot. So we're just going to push that right over there. And that should be good now. Can I have highlight barriers on nearby? Okay, that's wicked cool. I never use that, but that's super, super, super helpful. Alright, so I think we're going to have this be right here. And I think that's going to set us up for something really nice throughout here. So I do want to change that out for something. So I'm just going to move this little fence right over there. And I'll continue this on throughout here so we could actually have that be nice and consistent. And I feel like that would be a nice way to kind of hold off that staff area back there. And I'm really loving this fence technique. It's just such an awesome way just to get like a nice clean fence on throughout here. So I'm going to duplicate that right back there. And I'll do the same right over here. And hopefully by the end of this episode we can get a male kangaroo. If you guys haven't seen the last episode, I did buy our kangaroo friends over there. I'm not sure if we'll start to name our animals after people. I kind of want to, but I feel like it just becomes way too hard to keep up with. Maybe I'll just do silly names for them or something. But that's about that for that fence back there. And that's looking pretty good already. I kind of like how open that is. I think one thing I'll do is make it even on both sides and then do a little bit of a drop down just to make the area feel a little bit better. Maybe give it a little bit more of a focal point back there. I feel like now that we did that, it kind of opens up the area just so much more. And I think that is the true center right there, but I think I'm going to do that with a few different ones right over there. I think that is going to look mighty fine right there. And we can just continue that on right throughout there. And I feel like, you see, just doing those small little things over there, it really helps bring it out so much more. I feel like that just speaks to how clean you can get something to look. Now we're going to duplicate this right over here once more. And I think we'll actually cover this area up a bit. I think I want to make this into like an actual, maybe like an actual building or something. But for the time being, we'll just leave that as it is. We'll copy this piece right over here so we can have that be a nice curve, if that makes sense. And then what I'm going to do right over here is not that, but I'm going to push that over just a smidge. Then I'm going to separate this from the group. Now, sometimes you can get these little areas over here. One of the things that I like to do over there is duplicate it kind of like this. Make sure that the tiles all kind of match up and whatnot. Now, there are some problems that you'll see over here. This is another little building trick that just helps consistency. This is something called Z-fighting, when you keep something on the same plane. And you can kind of see how it flickers up there, right? You can kind of see that right there. If you push something to where you want it to be, and let's just say right there, and push it down just a smidge in all of the directions, you won't get any more Z-fighting, and it will actually look pretty damn good in the end of it. So I think that is pretty good for our habitat, at least. I think I want to get just a little bit more elevation back there, just as a way to help it feel a little bit more natural. And I think that is good for now. So what I want to do is bring our red kangaroos into this habitat. I'm going to add this habitat to our work zone. And I think in addition to that, I am going to look for more kangaroos because I really want some. And by the way, I did get a couple more prairie dogs just to help the population a little bit. And we did get a male kangaroo. So that's actually perfect right there. That's like awesome. Alright, so talking about stuff over here. Someone did mention that we need an ATM. I'm gonna look really quickly to see who might have said that. I unfortunately don't have it on here right now. Let me actually look in the full comments video. I don't see anyone really saying ATM. Melissa R. Okay, Melissa R. There we are. Melissa, thank you so much. We're gonna do one of those right here. Actually, no, I kind of want to do it like in this area right around here. I feel like this would be a good enough traffic area for us to plop one of these down. And I think what I want to do is change that to a nice blue color. I don't know why, it just feels right. So I will synchronize these prices and charge guests about $1 to take out money. And I think that should be okay right there. The bathrooms are 10 cents a piece, but I think we can bring that up to 25 cents. It's not really realistic, but I'll tell you what, I don't really care. I really just want that stuff. Okay, and I think we can synchronize these costs across the board. I did start to upcharge guests a little bit for those in one of the previous videos, so I think that should be okay right over there. And now we're going to get back to this area over here. You guys can tell just what kind of builder I am. I kind of just do my own thing for the most part. I pop around, that's why my speed builds are kind of janky. But I still love it because, hey, I just love my little ADHD brain. And what I think I'm going to do on both sides of these gates, I will include some stuff that kind of centers off those gates just a little bit. And I will duplicate these down just a bit more, and just these for extra precaution, just because obviously you're going to see it from this end. But what I will do is kind of continue that on throughout here. But for the time being, let's just get our kangaroos in here. I think the male, yep, he should be on his way. And I think because we have so many animals now, I do want to get another keeper in here. I'm not sure if we should get another caretaker. I say we should. Why not? And then we could just assign those guys to the same work zone. So I'll tell you what, we'll just assign those guys to the entrance right there, and we should be good. Staff room has staff healthcare. That way that they prevent themselves from becoming overworked. I feel like that works out pretty good. Alright, that is pretty awesome right there. Actually, I think I want to bring this guy right over here, just as a way to bring a little bit more traffic into this area. And yeah, I think that should be good right there. And I think I want to bring another tree over here. I feel like having a nice little couple of trees in this area might be pretty nice. That's looking pretty good. I really want to have this zoo feel lush. Already we can kind of see that this green area and that green area are looking very nice. So I really want to help continue that vibe throughout here. Alright, now back over here. This is what I'm super excited about, is this little vista. Obviously, since kangaroos aren't really the most dangerous animals, and yes, I know they can be a little dangerous, but they are walkabout animals. And normally you wouldn't really have male kangaroos in a walkabout, but hey, this is Planet Zoo we're talking about. I gotta get these guys to breed nonetheless. But going back to what I was saying, I want to make sure that we are making enough effort to prevent guests from jumping into this habitat when they're not really supposed to. It could freak the kangaroos out or something, and I'm taking a few notes from, I believe it should be, what zoo am I thinking of? What zoo am I thinking of that has kangaroos like this in good old New England? I think it's actually Southwicks. Yeah, it's Southwicks. They have a nice little kangaroo kind of exhibit like this. It's kind of like you look down into a pit or something like that. It's pretty nice, but I think this is still a little bit too high for these guys. I want to lower that just a little bit more right there. And if we pop into explore mode, we can see that we have a nice little vista right into there. And I kind of don't like this curb over there, but there's not really much we can do. I want the curb on the other side too, so it's kind of fine. But we can see that our kangaroos are starting to make their way throughout this exhibit. And before they die, we should probably get them their enrichment. We have the grazing ball feeder, which I'm going to tuck into this corner right over here. I think a nice color will be purple for that one. I like that. We're going to put a small ball in this corner right there. Water troughs. I usually always just go for the water pipe though. It's just such an easier piece to use, and it's just so much better looking. Not better looking, but it's better functioning. And we can already see that our guests are starting to make their way throughout here. I really like that. And our guests will need a few more drinks, so I think we could do like an outback water stall or something right there. I feel like that'd be kind of fun. We should probably do like a hanging feeder or something like that up here, just as a way to get them a little bit more food enrichment. We could probably hide that with a tree or something. The herb scent enrichments are always great ways to kind of get your animals to visit certain areas. So we could work something with that right over here in a little bit, and I think I'll do another one right up there. I'll show you guys what I mean in just a little bit. We also have the bedding over here. I'll throw down a few of those right there. I want to turn that into at least like a housing facility or at least something like that. But we'll get there when we do get there. We also do have a sprinkler. Actually, you know what? I kind of like sticking with the same colors that we kind of developed. And this is a very nice color right over here. I think that's going to be pretty good. It's just a nice kind of natural looking sprinkler. But yeah, there we go with all of our kangaroos. And they are doing very good on welfare. That's a surprising thing. Kangaroos are really, really easy to get along animals. They're not really that needy, which is fantastic for this little playthrough. So what I will do is include just a little bit more long grass because these guys kind of deserve it. Not only do they deserve it, but they kind of demand it in that case. They will need some rock and sand and soil, which we already have the sand covered, I guess. But throughout here, I do want to have this path be using rock. Not just because, you know, people will walk on it all the time, but just because it is a lot darker, and I feel like that fits the vibes of this area a lot more. And we're not going too far over it, which I think will be pretty good. We'll kind of dot some rock all throughout this too, just to give it a little bit more texture. And I think that's looking pretty good so far. I really do like this kind of like desert vibe area. What I will do too, as you guys can tell with free build, they kind of clip into the ground, I guess, and that's just because it's an issue with free build when you do edit the terrain. It also edits where the guests will stand and stuff like that, so that kind of sucks. And I forgot to kind of account for this a little bit, so we're just going to push that back. Panel too short. Okay, sorry I even bothered, I guess. That should be good, though, and they shouldn't escape anymore. Let me just double check this over here. And yeah, they have no escaped areas. That's perfect. And our money is going up. Wow. All right. So that's awesome to see right there. And I think I will take into account our guests kind of like dying of heat stroke in a few seconds. I do want to get these areas all set with, though. So I think what I'm going to do right over here is do just a few donation boxes. Nothing really too crazy. I mean, our money is already doing awesome. But I just want to get a few of these throughout here. And I think I'll have a few inside the habitat as well, and we'll do like little stands for them too. But that's looking pretty good so far, and we have some guests kind of like making their way throughout here, checking out the little kangaroos. And I do want to make a little spot for them to kind of go if they start to get a little bit stressed. So I think what I'm going to do is take this, lower it a little bit, and I think that should be okay for now. I do want, again, I want to turn that into a building, but we'll get there when we get there. Alright, so what I want to do is kind of recreate some of the rock work that we had over there. So I'm going to look up red desert rock. This stuff rocks, guys. Alright, so we're going to do a little bit of that over here. And this is what I'm talking about. These are going to be nice little vista points for our kangaroos to actually visit. We're going to start to decorate these into the landscape a little bit, making their way so that our kangaroos can kind of just like sit on the edge over there and maybe check out like the guests that are coming by to visit them, not really on the interior of the exhibit, but on the exterior. And that's going to just be a super nice area for them to chill. And, you know, you don't even need to have these guys showing. You can actually just cover them up ever so slightly. And the kangaroos can still use them. I like to still include just a little bit of it poking out right there just to make sure that we know it's there. And what I'm going to be doing over here, I'm just going to be doing the same thing, but for covering up this area. I want to make sure that this wall over here is nice and rocky to the point where the kangaroos won't be able to climb it. Unfortunately, we don't have like any rock wallabies in the game, but these guys would be able to climb stuff like that. Normally, they got to be netted in. That's how they were at Zoo Tampa, at least. Really beautiful zoo, by the way. One of my favorites. But yeah, we gotta make sure that these guys aren't able to escape. And it's just super easy. I love using rock number 4 for stuff like that. It's just a really nice rock for getting some really good cliff faces. Just because of that texture on the edge right there. It just looks super nice. And then we can just continue that on all the way throughout here. It's just going to be super nice and super easy to kind of get this stuff looking nice and snazzy. So we could also use a wide variety of rocks too. Whenever you build stuff like rock work, diversity is key. Especially for doing like small little areas like this where you have like, oh, maybe the rocks are a little bit more jagged and a little bit more coagulate. I'm not sure. I don't know what I'm talking about. But all I know is how to do good rock work. But you kind of continue that on all the way throughout there. I'm going to keep these areas kind of like open right there, just in case if the kangaroos do find themselves down there by accident. They should be able to go down there. Yeah, you can see that they're making their way down there. So that should be okay right there. And I do want to maybe do a bit of a rock structure right over here. Maybe a little bit of a taller one. Unfortunately, I don't have random rotation all, but that would be a really fun way to get like these nice custom rock structures out here. I think I want to do something kind of like this. Maybe just another one on top. Maybe like something poking out like that. I feel like that's going to be super nice. And just a super nice way to get like a little bit more points of interest inside the habitat itself. And it looks like they can get up there. How do we prevent that? It looks like they're kind of making their way throughout here. So I think I'm just going to center this area off a little bit so that they aren't really able to climb it. And we're going to move that guy right back out there because we really don't want him climbing out there. Alright, we still need a little bit of work over here. So I think I'm going to look up our handy dandy Australia decorative wood beams. I really love using these, especially for Australian areas, just because they just look so nice when you put them together. And they have a really nice texture to them too. It's very nice, and it's very much something you would see in like an Australian section. I think this guy's trying to go over there again. Yep, you stay away from there, please. I don't want you over there. What I'll do is also group these guys all up, and then we could just duplicate them. Why repeat the same thing twice? And I'll tell you what, why repeat the same thing 3 times? We could just do that and then do that. I feel like that's a really nice way to kind of center off that area. It's a really great way not only to prevent guests from walking into there, not guests, but kangaroos from walking into there, but it's a really great way at preventing the guests to walk in there. There we go. That's what I was originally saying. Because obviously our guests need to have their safety taken into account. And that's just a super awesome way just to stop them from walking into areas like that. We'll put one more right over there just to help nail down the area a little bit. Actually, no, they can probably walk off of that one. I don't want that to happen. And we can do another rock over here just as a way to kind of round off that area again, very much the same as we did right over there. And it's just super awesome just to get like a vista like that. I kind of like that. And then looking in from this way, we get a super beautiful vista. You can see the guests walking back there, but you can still see like a nice, beautiful, unobstructed habitat right here. And I think eucalyptus, I believe this is what we're going to try and do right here. Hopefully this item should still be usable. I really want like a nice big eucalyptus tree right in the middle. And I think having that right there would be pretty good. The other ones just feel a little bit too chunky for me. I don't know, I really don't like that all that much, especially this one. That's a little too big. But this kind of skinny one, that one's pretty good right there. So what I'm going to do, kind of center that a little bit. And that should be good right there. You can see that the beam is going through both of these. And I think I want to even that out just a smidge more. I feel like that would be a fantastic way to kind of nail that down. And there you go. Hopefully they should still be able to use that. Hopefully the keeper is able to feed that up. But still, regardless, it counts in their enrichment tab. So I'm fine with that. Just a couple bucks to give them a little bit extra loving. That's fine. But that is about that right there. I'm really liking the style of that build. But what I don't like is the fact that we don't have like a gate over there. So I'm going to repeat what we did over here again. And I think what I'll do, I'll just Control X that so we can just drag that all the way back over here. I really like using these gates as a way to kind of center off areas from the guests, just because it's such a nice kind of look to it. I don't know, it just feels so nice and so clean. I don't know, it's just super awesome. Then we just tuck that in until those pieces are barely noticeable. Another thing too, you can find really easy ways to tell if it's even or not by making sure that both sides match like what you're doing at that moment. So you see how that one kind of pokes out first? Actually, no, it's relatively even. That's perfect. All right, awesome. So we can just do that. And what I'm also going to do, I'm just going to copy these plaster pieces again as a way to help it feel like, you know, it's just a little bit more secure. I'm going to do that on the other side as well, just to make sure that we have this area feel just a little bit more cohesive. And that should be good right there. I want to do like an archways, like a whole bunch of archways over those, but that'll be something for later. For the time being, I really just do like that. That's awesome. But right over here, we have the Kangaroos. Once again, we're going to check these guys out, see what we can do. We need to release 2 prairie dogs to the wild, but that's only going to give us 700 bucks, so I think we can do that later. Looking at this stuff, semi-aquatic animals, we don't really need to do that right now. I'm not really too worried about all those community challenges. It's not something I really care too much about right now. Maybe later down the line, once we do get to like, I don't know, once we do get to the point where we need big ticket animals, I would love to do a lot more of those, but for the time being, we're probably fine without them. But yeah, let's pop into the foliage right now. I feel like this is going to be super fun to do. I haven't really done any live foliage with you guys, I don't think, so this is going to be super fun. But in areas like this, especially in like trenches, I like to do a lot more dead foliage. So I'm going to be using a whole mix of plants right here. I'm using the dead saltwort. This is a really awesome piece when it comes to making these dry areas really stick out. Especially if you layer it over each other enough times. And keep in mind, yep, this does cost 40 bucks per piece. I should probably consider that. Is there any other dry pieces that we have in here? We have the dry drin grass. This is going to be a really great way to introduce just a little bit more texture in here. We can kind of continue that on throughout here as well. I want to make sure that the top feels lush, but this kind of like bottom pit feels just a little bit more dry. Obviously, it would be kind of the opposite, because when it rains, water goes downhill. And normally you would be doing these like kind of cracked areas with like reeds and stuff. And I think we can throw a couple reeds down there. We could just pretend that, no, it's probably like the dry season. We can do a couple of them. But no, I want to do something a little bit different for this time. So I'm just using my typical mix of like dry pieces. So you can see I'm using a whole bunch of saltwort. I'm using the drain grass. I like to mix the green and the dry grain grass a bit, just because the dry one alone it mixes with the saltwort, but if you mix the regular drin grass with the dry one, it gives it such a different kind of life to it that really does stick out. And we're going to do that just a little bit up there. Now, moving on throughout here, there are some other pieces I feel like we can use. Nick's Prairie Cordgrass. By the way, this is a modded piece from the Frontier Pack. I know it's very confusing. It's a modded piece from a Frontier Pack. I know, it's kind of funny. But no, it's a really awesome piece for getting like these areas to feel just a little bit more lush and just even a little bit more dry in some cases. I kind of like the effect that it gives. So we could kind of have that be lining these two rocks right there. I think that's super awesome. And one of my favorite dry pieces is the Triordia Grass. Mixing this in this area is going to help it feel a lot more untamed and have it feel a little bit more wild. I like to mix both the green and the dry ones too, because that's what you see with plants. Sometimes you see some bushes that are just a little bit greener than the ones right next to it, and I really do like that in this game. It's just super awesome just to be able to handle those pieces like that. And that's the way I like to do my little crevices like that. I kind of like that. What I want to do up here, however, though, is have this area feel a little bit rocky, so I'm going to use some faux rocks. And I started to type that out right there, but I remembered we actually might have some other faux rocks in here that match the color, but unfortunately we don't. So that's what I'm going to do right over here. I'm going to try and color match them to our orange over here. And this is a trick that Mr. Y. Andrews taught me, as well as the whole community. If you change this from like that gray to the white, it makes the rock look a lot more natural. So we're just going to try and color match this a little bit with our handy dandy desert orange right there. This is very much, I know there are things on the workshop out there that are already predetermined. I know I have one out there, but I just love kind of fixing this up and kind of coming up with my own new colors over here. This one, it kind of matches it. I kind of like the fact that it doesn't too much. I think we'll even tuck one of those right there. Maybe we could tuck one of those right there and right there. And this is what I like to do. I like to go back to the old habitats and kind of just throw some stuff in there wherever it makes sense. You can kind of see that it's starting to make its way onto the grass right there. I think that's fine. In fact, we should probably kind of continue that on throughout there. Just gives it a little bit more color, a little bit more texture. We could even do that for the prairie dogs back here. Just include, like, you know, maybe some rocks over there and stuff like that. Just a really awesome way to get some more texture in there. But I think what we're going to do with these guys over here is just start to line this area over here. I think that's going to be super awesome. And the best thing about using the faux rock pieces is that once you kind of did one rock, if you want to switch over to the small ones, it retains its flexi-color values. So that's just a super awesome little trick right there. And if you exit out of it and you go back in there, what you can easily do is merge both groups, and then you could just duplicate them. And then you can go back to the other ones, and it'll still stay the same. Really awesome little shortcuts that I suggest you guys start to play with and start to learn. Because once you understand the shortcuts in Planet Zoo, everything else just flows so much quicker. You can build so much quicker. In fact, we're building this entire habitat in like less than an hour. Hopefully, that would be ideal. But making our way throughout here, and it's starting to look pretty damn good. I really wanted this area to feel nice and rocky, so we could get some like nice desert plants in here, maybe some succulents and stuff like that. Just really hardy plants. Oh no, we have protesters. What's going on, guys? Who are we protesting? What are we doing? Where are our protesters? Alright, great. Alright, you're protesting the capybaras. I assume it's the water. I don't have any water filtration just yet, but we're just going to replace the water right there. It looks like our capybaras... I think someone warned me about this. Capybaras are breeding very steadily. So I think what I'm going to do, I'm just going to get rid of some. I'm just going to send these guys off to the wild. Get some nice conservation points in there too. I feel like that'd be a great thing to have. But it looks like our capybaras can't be sold, released to the wild or whatever. That should be alright. And then once some of them grow up, we could just refill those... What am I trying to say? We could refill those genes, if that makes sense. We can get some different capybara individuals in there. There we go. Yeah, that's what I meant to say. Alright, back to the desert. We're going to do a few non-harmful ones over here. I want to have... Actually, we should probably pause it because I can see that our money's going down quite a bit. But I want to get some of these century plants in here. I feel like these are just a really awesome way to introduce just a little bit more color into this habitat. Moving on from there, the aloe is also a really nice hardy desert plant. So we can include a few of these guys over here. I wish we had a bigger one that didn't have that little flower on it. Most of the time that I see aloe plants, they don't really have flowers. I would like to do one without one eventually, but let's see what else we can actually have in here. We have the agave. This one, again, is by Nick. He just ripped it from the exhibit models, and then he actually plopped them into the exhibit prop pack, which I think is excellent to have over there. It just really allows you to do a little bit more different kind of decorations. And I think we'll also do a few of these ponytail palms. Normally, you would use them kind of like that, but tucking them into the ground gives you like this nice kind of fern thing. And I just think that's pretty swanky right there. No cactuses because I don't really want anyone to get hurt over here. Again, this is a very low wall. You could probably get guests touching in here. And I don't want any guests to get hurt on any, let's just say, things. Yeah, things. We don't want them to get hurt on things. But that is about it. I wanted to give like another rock structure back there. Maybe I'll do another one kind of like right over here. I feel like that would be pretty good. But that's about that over there. I do want to get some grasses in here. So I think what I'm going to do is find my landy-dandy periwinkle. My handy-dandy periwinkle. And I'm just going to sputter that all throughout. I'm just going to do a few different patches of that stuff. I'm going to have that continue on into the kind of sandy areas right there. Nothing really too crazy. And before we get too far, I do want to group all of these guys up. And deselect anything that we aren't going to be sinking into the ground. Again, this is one of my favorite little tricks in the game, and you'll actually see it in play once we actually do get all of our stuff settled over here. We'll do a nice little grassy area over here too. Really nice, really dense. And then we can do Yorkshire. The Yorkshire Foggrass, easily like one of my favorite new pieces. Then we can kind of continue that on throughout here. If it's kind of sticking out, do not worry. We'll be taking that into account in just a little bit. But we can do this align to surface all throughout here. And it'll be very nice once we actually do get through this. And I'll show you guys the easiest way to make beautiful high dimension grass in your parks. But yeah, we're just going to do that a little bit more over here. Not like that because we don't want any grass kind of sticking out like that. That'd be kind of weird. But we kind of just want this to be in all the areas where the periwinkle grass isn't. And then we just continue that on. And then what we do, now that we have all that, we just sink it into the ground, not too far. But we want it to be just far enough to give like a nice grassy effect. And it works pretty well with that grass too, like the natural biome grass. That looks pretty good as well. And what I want to do, I don't think we'll do the actual housing for these guys just now. I think we'll do that probably off camera or something, just because I'm not really feeling that in this episode. I feel like we're already getting a little bit too long in just the stock where we are right now. But maybe later down the line we can do that. But I do want to get some more desert trees in here just as a way to get these guys a little bit more shade. Kangaroos, while they do live in, like, you know, the Australian outback and desert and stuff like that, they still need a lot of shade. And I think the Sudanese frankincense trees will do a lovely job at kind of, like, getting that into shape over there. And I think I do want some drain grass. So what I'm going to do is disable position snap and stuff like that. And I'm going to disable align to surface, and we can do a few little spurts of drain grass all throughout here. Keeping in mind, again, this does cost a lot of money for some reason, which is probably why I'm really enjoying the periwinkle and Yorkshire foggrass technique, because it covers a much wider area, which I think works out pretty good. But we're just going to do a little bit of this all throughout. We're going to do it around the rocks too. Have it really be nice and stuck out. And we're going to kind of line the path over here. Just because this would be where the keepers would walk. This would be where the kangaroos would walk. And we're going to do a little bit of dry grass in here throughout as well. Just a really nice way to kind of make that little fake pathway right there. Not fake pathway, because obviously they would use it, but not guest pathway. That's probably the best way to say that. And I think we can do with another bigger tree. I think we can do a palm tree or a few palms like all throughout here. I think that'd be a great way to kind of introduce a few better desert vibes throughout here. I think that should be good. I think, ooh, this would be a nice little area to get like a nice big bush or something like that. I think that's going to be super nice. But what I really want is a nice big tree. But I'm trying to figure out what kind of desert tree we could use. I'm not a big fan of the bloodwood tree. I know that's how they look. It's just not really something that matches my vibe in here. But I know what I do want as a vibe. I want some more creosote bushes. Creosote. I believe that's how you actually say it. I keep on saying creosote. But no, it's just such a nice desert bush. Especially when you mix it with like the saltwort. I think that's going to be pretty good. I know I just covered up that ball over there. It'll find its way into the habitat one way or another. But I think this is going to be just a super awesome way to introduce just a little bit more green and a little bit more lush to the back of the habitat. And already it's starting to come together so nicely. You could just see how perfect the little grass technique is for areas like this. Just because we went from like this barren, dry habitat to this beautiful lush one within a matter of minutes, and it looks super nice. You guys always ask me, how do I make my speed build so quickly? And that's it. You gotta play smart about how you make stuff. What I also want to do, again, I gotta find like the proper bush in here. Let's look up grasslands. I feel like that would give us something nice. Maybe the sausage tree. I feel like that might be a pretty good way. But maybe the river bush. I'm not really sure. Definitely not a weeping willow. It probably wouldn't do too well in this area. But I think an acacia tree might. I'm not really sure. The eucalyptus trees just really aren't settling with me right now. Maybe the impingo tree. Okay, yeah, definitely the impingo tree. I think that just gives us such a nice little amount of shade that no other tree can really do. And it just looks super nice too. Like, look at that gloriousness. Is that a word? I'm not really sure. But I think we can also tuck one in right over there. And that is our little kangaroo habitat. That is shaping up to be nice over there. I want to include some other stuff on this side too. Maybe we can get like another Australian animal or something like that. Probably not koalas, because I feel like they're a little too finicky, and probably not really an animal we should start around with. But that is looking pretty good right there. I really like that. Now, what I want to do before we get too far out is I want to make these into like little stands. Not really education stands. I feel like that would be the best way to kind of phrase that stuff. So what I want to do is make this area right over here. Can we position snap to this? We can't really, no. What if we click X and then we bring in a plank? Yep, okay. It's just random rotation was on. So we can do this. So let me get our 4-meter plank, and we can kind of line that up right over there. And we can kind of make this into like a custom stand. Because I feel like having that be openly exposed, kangaroos are clever little buggers. They would be able to get into that and probably eat the money, which, you know what? I mean, we're doing pretty good on money right now. We have 28,000, but we need all the money we can get, guys. So what I'm going to do is kind of line this area up a little bit, and we're going to have this be a nice little education station. So we're going to tuck that into the side right over there, and we're going to duplicate that right there. So what I want to do is look for corrugated. I feel like we can get some nice corrugated pieces in here. Now, what ones will we use? I'm not entirely sure. Maybe this one. It's just a nice stock gray one. Nothing really too crazy. It's definitely something you would see in an area like that. Yeah, I kind of like that. So we can duplicate that on both sides, and that'll be super nice right there. What I also want to do back here is look up some wood pieces. We can look up some pretty nice wood pieces. I really like these ones from the Africa set. That one's pretty good. So we can kind of tuck that in right over here. And what I'm going to do is make a place for our educational sign. The education panel, education TV, whatever it is, we just need a little place for it. So we're just going to tuck that stuff right there. And we got to find our little education sign. It looks like our trash isn't doing too good over here. So what I think I may just do very quickly is just include quick little bins right over there. Nothing too crazy. And we can bring the Habitat Education Board right over here. That does feel a little bit too big for what I want. In fact, you know what I'll do? I will have that be for the kangaroo. But I think we're going to cover that up, unfortunately. I know we kind of just made this for that. But work with me here, guys. I have an idea. And when Leaf has an idea, you know, you just very well know. It might be work. It might work out. So what I'm going to do is kind of copy that all on the back over there. I know it's getting kind of expensive for what we're actually making, but I think in the end it should all be worth it. And what I'm going to do is just group this. Okay, cool. It's all grouped up right now. Actually, is it? Is it all grouped up? Okay, cool. I'm just making sure that it's not affecting like the other ones too. So what I want is facilities, and I do want a screen. So what we can do with the screen over here is have a little sign. I think we can do 1 meter. Yeah, we can do 1 meter. Shouldn't be too bad. And we could do that right over there. We're going to make that all white because I feel like that's just a lot cleaner. And then we can do example, if we can find education, wide red kangaroo would be it. So wide R. Wide R, wide R. Red kangaroo. There we go. Alright, so that's going to be wicked nice right there. I kind of like that. Do we have any like kangaroo pieces? I feel like it'd be really nice to have that right there. In fact, we can kind of tuck that in right behind there. And that's actually wicked cute. Look at us go. Alright, I do want to change out the color for that. Maybe we could change it to red. Yeah, like a nice burnt umber orange or something like that. I feel like that should be okay. And that still counts as education right there, which I think is going to be super awesome and super helpful. And what I also want to do is include an educational speaker, because obviously it's a really easy way to up your education in this game. Don't worry, guys. I know what I'm talking about. I played the career mode. I know that African scenario where it's like, oh my god, you gotta add all the education. No, I'm playing. So there we go. We're gonna change that all to be black. And I'll tell you what, if we can get a circle piece, I think I know the exact piece that I want around here. No, that is not it. Let me actually just click X right over there. I gotta find the right piece over here. I think that is a little bit too big, so you probably won't be able to use the other one. That one is just a bit too big as well. I think that's what I'll do. It's just a really easy way just to get like, you know, a little bit more black in there. So I'll do that, and I think, oh gosh, please let me select that. Okay, cool. And it's not letting me do what I want to do. Great. Let's do that. Please, just let me select you. Can I not get this? This is ridiculous. Come on. There we go. So I swear, sometimes the hitboxes in Planet Zoo are like some of the worst ones ever. But it's totally fine, because look at that. We're gonna make this a nice faux donation bin. Alright, awesome. And what I just want are marquee beams. Really nice, really simple way to get this nice education board to be standing up. And we'll kind of do that on both sides right over there, just to help it feel like it's a little bit more immersive, a little bit more realistic. And there we go. And I think that should be all good. Just making sure that we aren't really missing anything else. I think that should be okay. Obviously, there would be a lot more education stuff in there too, but I don't really want to go too crazy with that. What I do want to do is just duplicate this on the other side over here. So we could have that be with the... Oh my gosh, they've already bred. That's, wow. They really made quick work of that. And we have no power. But I'll tell you what, that is fine. Because soon enough we'll be expanding out to there. I do want to get to this eventually. Because I do want to start working with the exhibit system. But unfortunately, as it stands right now, I don't really want to do like a reptile house around here. I'm having a lot of fun with the habitats and stuff like that. So hopefully we get to continue that on all throughout here. But we're just going to do just a few more grassy areas throughout here. Grassy areas. De nada. That's how you say thank you and stuff in Spanish. Obviously, grassy areas. Grassy areas. I'm losing it, guys, if you can't tell. But we're just going to do a few of this right throughout there. We can group them up so it's a lot easier for us to use. And then we can separate these guys from that group. And what we'll do is just group these guys up once again. And kind of sink it into that area a bit more. We'll go back over here to our short grass. Kind of sputter that on throughout there. And do a little bit more long grass here and there, just as a way to kind of get, like, I wish we could get those as separate pieces. That would be super awesome to get. But what I think I want to do is include, oh yeah, these pieces as well. The conservation grass roof panels. Just as, you know, just a nice way to get some more grass in here. Looks really nice and really clean all together. And I will kind of decorate that area eventually, but, you know, just to end this, I want to get, like, cactus. I feel like the cactus in this game are so beautiful. No wonder why they copied them over to Jurassic World Evolution 2. But nah, this is going to be super awesome, super beautiful. Just as a nice little way to kind of welcome you into that area. Obviously, you don't want to touch it, because that wouldn't be a nice little welcoming way in. And oh my gosh, this is why I kind of hate doing this stuff in Planet Zoo. Okay, we can't copy over the broken ones. There's always something to do. There is always something to do in here. How come our guests aren't that happy? They are hungry and they're thirsty. Okay, all those things are just busy. We'll work on our little food plaza in the next episode. But for the time being, I think we'll kind of end it right there. I do want to get these guys right here, though. Just make sure that they don't litter inside the habitat, because that would be bad. I think we'll also include a couple of these guys on the sides of these right over here, just to make sure that we don't get any sick kangaroos or anything like that, because this is a walkabout. We don't want any of that stuff happening. But that's about it for our kangaroo habitat, so I think we'll leave it right there. Oh my god, look at that. Look at that, they're stacking up right next to them. That's super awesome. But that is pretty much it for today's episode. Thank you guys so much for stopping in. I know it's about an hour-long episode. It's kind of crazy right there. But thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. If you guys did enjoy it, well, I hope you guys did. No other words over there. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next episode. Take care and have the most wonderful of wonderful days. Bye-bye now.